Hey, let me make sure this doesn't do what it did last time. Happy Saturday. It's the end of the week. Man, it was a long, never ending week for me, and it feels like the weekend is pretty much the same. But even if I have a busy weekend, it's still better than being clocked in from the hours for me 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Because when I'm not clocked in, it's just a mental relief that no matter how much I have to do, it's not under the pressure of having a boss tell me, hey, Mark, you need to do this. I'm checking behind your work. I'm making sure that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's. Yes, I have some responsibility to do those things myself for my own personal projects, but it's not quite the same. Now, what I wanted to say in this live, specifically when it comes to reality TV, I wish that we could find a happy medium between the stuff that I grew up watching and the stuff that I watch right now. Now, don't get me wrong, I still like some aspects of reality TV, but to tell you the truth, I would watch much less of it if it wasn't for the fact that I started doing this for my channel. I do a lot of things just for my channel. For an example, I grew up on The Real World. The Real World was probably the first thing that I can think of that I really got into when it comes to reality TV. And I remember what John Brennan described it as like when he was on the second season of The Real World. He said basically the cameras just followed you around and you just do what you do. There was no such thing really as production. It was just, I mean, there was production obviously, but it's like they follow you, whatever they catch, and it's just real and raw and authentic. To a degree, obviously, you're going to change yourself a little bit when you know that there's cameras there, but not in a sense of how it is today, where it's a lot of crew there, and then if you're starting to have a moment, they're like, can you redo that? Or if you're doing like a diary room entry, they're like, can you redo that and do it with more energy? These are things that people have talked about who have been on these shows. So here's the part where I say that I wish we had a happy medium. I understand that a lot of the things that entertained me with these shows when I was younger watching them were not okay. I understand that now. When I was watching them at 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever, it was all fun and games to me because I'm like, these are just people on my TV screen. Who cares? This is not anything to do with my life. Now the adult me who has been through a lot of things myself, who has spent 10 years doing peer counseling, where I talk to people with all kinds of different backgrounds and stories. And in the last 3 years, I've met so many people from these shows and spoken to them, and they've talked about, especially the older ones, not so much the newer ones. Well, the newer ones too, specifically on Big Brother, but a lot of the older ones have talked about all this trauma that they experienced that the show never took any accountability for, and people just allowed those things to happen. So they went from the side of everything goes to a side of like nothing goes. So as an example, if you watch the challenge, on the challenge there's an infamous moment with Leroy and Camila where Camila just went off on Leroy, apparently for like a really, really long time, and all the castmates stood there and said nothing. The next day when TJ came into the house, he said nothing, and Camila was allowed to continue on the show as if nothing happened. She just, I think she apologized, but that was a moment where she should have been kicked off the show. Nowadays, they don't let you do anything. they're very low tolerance, but it's not low tolerance for things that necessarily should get you kicked off of a show. It's just, what is the fandom gonna say? If the fandom overwhelmingly is gonna be like, this person needs to be off, they need to be canceled, and we need to never see them on the screen again, the show is not gonna vouch for them, or the show is not gonna say, oh, this person had a moment. They're gonna be like, we don't want the backlash. Get them on out of here. With this bullying thing that I've been talking about, with people having arguments, and saying things in the heat of the moment. Now, I'm iffy about certain ones, like for instance, Ashley getting kicked off of the show for questioning Josh's sexuality. I'm a little bit iffy about that. I mean, the comment was off base. I will admit that. She shouldn't have said that. Kicked off, canceled, never allowed back. I don't know if that part is true, but I don't think she's been back since. But I'm for letting certain things be worked through and talked about. And then the other thing that I don't like is when everyone talks about how they're producing a story and they're putting together a story. And I understand that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's for people to be watching, and some parts of a story are going to be entertaining, so you're going to put them in there, and some parts of the story are not going to be entertaining, so you're just going to leave it out. But what happens now is that the people get off the show and then they start speaking on their podcasts, or they're a guest on somebody else's podcast. So they have contracts where they probably have NDAs and stuff, so they allude to certain things, or they might even leak information that they want out that supports that they were right in their stance or whatever, and we don't have the video footage to see it ourselves. So the whole fan base is going to go towards the person that they like. And I like the ability to see things for myself. I have to go soon. That's why I keep looking. And make my own judgment for or against. So I wish that we had a little bit of a happy medium between the everything goes era that I grew up in and the nothing goes era that I am witnessing now. I don't really know what the solution is to that. But, that's our climate that we live in now. And I made a decision. There was a point where I was like, I'm just not going to watch anymore because it's not real. But now I watch and I realize that I'm witnessing maybe 20-25% reality, 70 to 75% entertainment and fabrication. And I don't just mean entertainment and fabrication just on the side of production. I mean people who are getting on these shows now and trying to make careers out of the show. Not careers out of being on the show necessarily, but careers out of providing entertainment and getting large followings and being social media moguls and influencers, and that's that. Not familiar with Ashley situation, but don't get why reality TV doesn't use situations as teachable moments. That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, I like when they show things and they allow us to see them and they allow us to see people work through them. And in the Ashley situation, from what people have said, Devin and I believe Tori, Josh, and a couple others campaigned to get Ashley off of the show. And I don't know. I thought that they could have worked through that and it could have been more impactful seeing them have a conversation and seeing them settle it versus just kicking her off the show. But that was just me. I know it's going to be offensive to some people for sure, but anyways, y'all, I hope you'll have a great rest of your evening. I'm hopping off and talk to you soon. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and hit the notification bell.